Boss, it's great to see you. And
Thank you.
I'm going to take you back to the team talks. And I don't know how many times you mentioned the Govan Shipyards, but it was a lot. During the season, referring back to obviously moments in your childhood growing up and the importance of obviously being grounded. Just talk to us about that and why you used to refer to it in your team talks to players at Manchester United. I suspect before that Aberdeen as well.
Well, I think that my reasons were that the players I had to deal with then probably were not from the working class that I was from. So I had to try and instill that part in them that working hard is a real talent. And I refer to shipyard workers, to miners, to steel workers. And I think that you may not have been the working class, but your fathers or your grandfathers were. And I really put a great importance in having to work hard. Even your best player, although he may be the most talented player, he has to show that he's prepared to work as hard as every other player. And I think we got that. I think I was lucky that the players bought into the very fact that working hard is a talent.
And I get asked this question probably more than ever, or more than any other question. How did Sir Alex Ferguson get you to keep coming back every single year, all the teams at Manchester United, and do it again?
It's a sacrifice. You know, that when I became a manager, I'd been a player, a decent player. When I became a manager at 32, I thought this would be easy. You know, I was thinking about other managers I worked for and certain, and I thought, yeah. I lost my first away game 5-2. I'm going home that night in the car and I'm saying to myself, I didn't expect this. And I realised then that if I didn't get a working mentality or a mental strength in my players, I had no chance. After one league triumph, and the first team talk I had the next year was about the geese. Do you remember that? And some of the players are sitting there saying, what's that guy talking about? But it's a great story. A friend of mine had a farm his cousin had a farm in Canada, and he was telling me this story about geese flying to 4,000 miles for a bit of heat, you know. And I said to the players, I said, all I'm asking you is to play 38 games to win the league. You know, so the motivation always, I would be sitting in my bed or lying in my bed at night thinking about ways of motivating players, because if you're at a club or United for 27 years, you don't want players to feel, here we go again.
When you refer to psychology, you don't believe in psychology, it's management. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
Well, management, psychology, I've never considered that as part of my job, but the management thing is based on, I believe anyway, in communication, loyalty and trust. When I went to Aberdeen, you have to give your trust to the players, and you hope by time you get it back. And I did exactly the same at United. But my communication was really important to me, recognise and value my staff. And I would never let anyone pass me in a corridor or in the dining room without saying good morning. I'd have a chat with them, whatever. I think that it's really important to, you know, for instance, if you think back to our time there when we won the league or a cup or whatever, I had all the staff in the dining room on a Monday. It was their cup. If you value them and you give your consideration to them, what the job they're doing, they'll pay you back.
How did you build a team? What was the ethos behind the team? Because you you kept me for 3 or 4 years at the end when I wasn't doing particularly great for you.
Now, you made your own decision, but
I know. Even at the end, I had to say I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Because you weren't getting rid of me then.
No, I wasn't. I said that to you. Go away and think about it. You remember?
Yeah, no, I remember. I remember going seeing you and saying to you, boss, I'm done. I was making mistakes. And you said, typical emotional Neville. You said, go away, have a think about it. But even then, you wanted to have me to have another year.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, why did you keep these players who weren't necessarily performing for you like I wasn't at the end, or weren't the most talented, but they were winning? And how did you make them win? Because, you know, obviously had great players as well, let's be clear, but you also had that core of people that maybe weren't the most talented, but obviously believed maybe in yourself or the club.
I think through Eric Harrison, to myself, I think we brought up players where we developed a good mental strength, a toughness that they could play in front of 75,000. I used to say that to the parents all the time. I said it to your mother and father. I hope Gary and Phil play in front of 75,000. That's the aim.
Yeah.
They don't all make it, but the amazing thing is a lot of those players are still playing today with different clubs. So that the preparation and education they got as they were built up in United was really important. Now, on the subject which you mentioned about great players and the hard-working players, this is something I thought about an awful lot with Brian Robson, Steve Bruce, and yourself. There's something inside them that drove them to be as good as the Scholes and the Giggs and the Cantonas and the Ronaldos and the Rooneys. There's something inside them that drives them on. It forces them to bring out everything they can put in a game. So therefore, I was fortunate to see that develop. Like Darren Fletcher was a great example. Steve Bruce was a great example. Yourself was a great example, right? Because you started as a centre-half and we realised quickly that you weren't going to be a centre-half in our first team. So you developed yourself into right back. And that was your self-determination and having the fire inside you that made the Robsons and the Keanes and the Bruces all competitive players. It's the players who are so talented, like Cantona and Ronaldo and Giggs and Scholes and Carrick, and these talented players, even Dennis Irwin come in because they're a really talented player. That they have to show that they're prepared to be as hard working as you lads, as the other lads, and that's what gets the blend. And I think in most cases the teams we built had these ingredients. They didn't like losing. They were developed into that way. I like to see myself in the players. And of course, when I lost a game, you know how I reacted. You know why? Because my expectation was bigger than theirs. I was going to win World Cups, win every game. That was my attitude every morning, every Saturday morning, to win every game.
The other word that I always remember you referring to in team talks was risk.
You're down 1-0 with 15 minutes to go. What's the point in sitting with your back four, your regular midfield, and two strikers? What's the point in it? The risk is shove people in the box because the other team react to that. You shove 3 and 4 in the box, get the ball in there. That's the risk because you can lose the breakaway, the counter-attack quite easily. And we lost games that way. I remember... I think it was Newcastle, Ollie Gruner got sent off with bringing the player down the last kick of the ball. But the value is, you score in the last minute, or injury time. Remember the dressing room? It was electric, absolute electric. The fans are going home, they can't wait to get to the pub to talk about. They can't wait to go home and tell their wife and their kids what it was like at Old Trafford to score in the last minute. That's the value. And if you're playing for our club, that risk should always be there. There's no point in flapping about in the midfield with a few passes and no taking the risk of getting the ball in the box. Because you're not going to score for 40 yards. I can't remember a player trying to score for 40 yards. I know one.
I tried a few times.
I know one. Left foot, cutting in from the right-hand side to the left foot and hitting the ball over the bar. Have you ever scored for 25 yards, Gary? No. But what the hell are you trying to hear there?
I grew up supporting United and not liking Liverpool because of the success. But I think that it even heightened when I got in the club. Because when either the youth team played Manchester City or Liverpool, or whether the reserve team were playing Manchester City or Liverpool, you were offended by... It felt to me like you were offended by the club being beaten by Liverpool or City at any level. And it made you angry. And the build-up to those games, your face was more a little bit like it is now. Was it a dislike of you? Was it the rivalry? What was it that made you feel that way? Because it was just different in the club.
It's my respect to Liverpool. When I was the manager at St Mirren, I went down to Liverpool's training for a week, and I saw the intensity of their training and the consistency they had. So when I came to United and they were winning all the titles, I made that point. And it's like when I was at Aberdeen, there's only 2 clubs you need to beat in Scotland to win everything. That's Rangers and Celtic. At that time when I came to United, there's only one club to beat to win the league, and that's Liverpool. So that was my intention. That was what I put everything into producing a team who could beat them. Not necessarily beat them every game, but win the leagues. And if you remember, I always said to the players at Liverpool, if you don't turn up, we're going to be beaten. And we'd go there with our best team, with Keane and Scholes and Giggs and Beckham and the back four, right, the front players. And sometimes, if we're just off a little bit, we lost. You know, we had a great record there in terms of any other club. But nonetheless, I knew that if you beat Liverpool, you're on the right path.
I only recognised this properly when I became captain for that last 4 or 5 years, that you used to stand outside the dressing room door and the captain couldn't go out past you until you were there. Every single match. You make sure you... Why did... it's this influence over referees, this looking down the corridor, it's the looking at the away team. What was the reason you stood outside that door so that everybody could see you? Was it for your own team or was it for the others down the corridor?
No, for their own team.
Okay.
My own team. But there was one occasion, I don't know if you remember this, but we were down 3-0 to Tottenham, at Tottenham. And I never said a word in the dressing room. Now, do you remember that?
Yeah.
I sat in the radiator and it was bloody burning hot too. And I says...
I do remember actually now.
Next goal's the winner. That's what I said. And I went to the door and Teddy Sheringham, who played with us, of course, was their captain. And he came out to the door and looked at me and turned and said to his players, don't let them score early. We scored in the first minute. Remember that?
Yeah.
I thought that killed him with Teddy having to say that to them. Because I looked at him, you know, and they looked at me. And I just, come on, we can win this. It's a funny game.